So I just got out of 2025's The Amateur, starring Rami Malek and Laurence Fishburne, which I didn't realize until I looked it up is actually a remake of 1981's The Amateur, starring Christopher Plummer and John Savage and probably other people, which I vaguely remember seeing the box cover for that. Anyway, but we're not talking about the 1981 version. What we are talking about, though, as a side note, is seemingly every other film that is in theaters right now is a remake, a sequel, a C-make, a prequel, a reboot, a franchise, or whatever. But The Amateur, not a bad film. Not a bad film as far as, I went in as a matinee, honestly, to kill time on a day where I had time to kill, and it served that purpose. I never thought it was dumb. I never thought it was stretched credulity too much. Everybody in it is really good. Rami Malek as like a thinking man's, I get choked up when I talk about Rami Malek or people who think. Rami Malek as a thinking man's action hero was fun. Fishburne as like a CIA operative was fun. And other familiar faces whose names you may or may not know. The one thing I will say about this is it does lean, I'm really kind of want to see the 1981 movie now, because I see more and more often now films and screenwriting leaning so heavily on magic laptops and technology and the ability to theoretically surveil everything everywhere and take a photo that's completely out of focus and clickety click and suddenly it's razor sharp focus, and then we can take that face and match it against the database. We can take somebody's muffled voice from a video with all kinds of extra noise and extract the voice and match the voice pattern. And probably a lot of this is within the realm of possibility, but it is one of those things where if you're watching a film critically, which for the most part you really shouldn't, if you're watching a film with critical thinking styles, you're like, is that real? Can they really do that? Or is this just a way to get us to the next beat in the story and get us to the next location, which this film does do. It is a globe-trotting adventure, which we don't get too much of anymore. John Bernthal is briefly in the film as well, which is funny to me because John Bernthal is also in another film currently in theaters called The Accountant 2. Side note, I had no idea there was ever an Accountant 1. He's in two movies that are about high-tech, highly trained skills revenge that both start with the letter A, which I keep confusing. I keep wanting to call this film The Analyst, The Accountant. It's The Amateur. So it's an interesting film. It's a fun film. It globetrots, as I say. It's a revenge movie. The basic story, I'm not going to tell you the whole story. The basic story is that Rami Malek is a very high-end, top-secret data analyst for the CIA, and something very bad happens to someone close to him. I'm not going to tell you the whole story. Something very bad happens to somebody very close to him. He feels like the company isn't doing enough to catch the people who did it, so he basically engineers a scenario where he can be trained in the deadly art of revenge and then go off and use his skills with newly acquired skills of murder with his deep-seated, super high-tech, super genius skills of surveillance and computers to try to take down the guys responsible for bringing sorrow into his life. So tying back to the 1981 film, I really want to watch this now, partly just to see how the two films differ, but also how to see in 1981 they got the character from point A to point B, and I feel like that a lot now. When you watch an older film, it's detective work, it's clues, it's interviewing people, it's interrogating people, it's surveillance, and now so often it's just clickety clickety on the mouse and clickety clickety, and we have the answer to everything. So it was a thing that on the Smallville TV show I always would roll my eyes at and refer to as Chloe's magic laptop, because whenever they needed to figure something out, the Chloe character would sit on her laptop and tickety tickety tickety, and suddenly she would find a news article or she would find whatever she needed to advance the plot. So The Amateur does that, and most people I think are not critical of that sort of thing. And for the most part, I'm not either. It's just one of those things where, having worked on the very fringe of video technology years ago, where people would bring in the most horrendous surveillance video recorded at the slowest speed a VCR can record it on a tape that had been used hundreds of times with out of focus black and white footage from across a parking lot. And they would always say, "Can you enhance that?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I can blow it up and make it even worse than it looks now." So anyway, I'm in a hot car and my brain will cease to function very soon. Thought it was a good film. I could see a sequel to this film if this is successful enough happening, where surviving characters from this film build upon skills, utilize skills, or are given other missions. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. I actually overheard that from a couple who was leaving the theater moments ago ahead of me saying, "Oh man, I want to see more of how this guy does this, and I think they could put him on other missions and things like that." So who knows? Maybe a couple down the road we'll have a summer where we simultaneously have The Accountant 3 and find The Analyst 2, and people will again wonder which of the two John Bernthal movies about high-tech revenge am I going to see right now? What did I just pay to see? So Rami Malek, very interesting as they say, as an action hero. Everybody in it is good. It's well shot for the most part. The action is viewable. It is not too egregious in the terms of badly shot, shaky camera action. And if you like a revenge movie like I like a revenge movie, you want two things. You want a large number of people the good guy has to take revenge on, because then you can see him getting that satisfactory bloodlust satiated multiple times and not just one. And you want somebody who has really creative ways of doing it. So this movie has all of that. It takes turns that you don't expect. And overall, I would say it was good. So in theaters now, or if you're watching this a year from now, on your favorite streaming service or physical media, hopefully, The Amateur.